All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mary. Good afternoon, Eunice. Good afternoon to the remaining people that would join in as we continue the conversation. So, I don't know why I feel like this is my first time I'm doing this, but it just feels so unique. Probably because I have not met Mary before ever. I think this is my first time, but I've heard a lot about her, and well, I had been looking forward to the day I was going to meet her, and well, I'm grateful it's for a conversation like this. So my name is Tolu Olubemiro. I like talking. So that's like all. So how the structure of today's conversation is going to go is so Mary is going to introduce herself, and then we're just going to dive straight up into today's conversation, and that would be it. And then along the line, if we have questions, there'll be like a space for questions at the end of the conversation or through the conversation, basically. So that's it. Mary, you have the floor.
Okay. Hi. Hi everyone. Hi Winnie. Hi Tolu. So my name is Mary Afọlábí. Let me see where do I start from. Partner design for the canvas. Um been designing for how many years now? Over 12 years. Studied fine art. So yeah, I've been in the creative field for a while now, basically. What else? Oh yes, I have it to make music. What else? What else would you want to know? What else would you want to know? So yeah, I think that might cover a number of things. So I'm a mentor to a couple of designers here in Nigeria. I think that covers most of it. So every other thing you get to find out about me, basically. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start from the beginning,
Okay.
kind of. So I'm really interested in what led you down the path to studying fine art. I never consider it as a go-to or as something a Nigerian, especially one that was born before me, would.
No.
Yeah, because now it's something that okay, everybody wants. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
that want to be designers and that want to explore art, so they might actually choose literally to like say, oh, I want to do fine art or art in school. But from a standpoint of someone that was born before me, please, what led you down the path to art, studying fine art in the university?
So, from a personal perspective, I would say my dad, right, encouraged me along that path. But, or I could say, for if it's from a personal perspective, I think I should start from the fact that as a kid, I used to enjoy making drawings, just imagining stuff. I just really had an interesting imagination, basically, and I did not realize that I was doing things that my parents were noticing, that my dad noticed, that to the point that he pushed me towards that point, right, towards the path. So before I went to study fine arts at all, I had started learning design, right? So, but I was not learning
Wow.
from just a regular designer in that sense. I was learning from a designer that is also artistic. So I was learning a whole lot more than design. I was learning the creative. I was learning a couple of things from the creative field, basically. So handling stuff, making sure that things come out excellently. Just a number of things, really, right? So at that point, right, um, I was trying to get admission into uni, and it didn't work at some point. And then at some point, I mean, as I kept bouncing back, I just realized that it just made sense. If I had enough exposure to the art and everything, it just made sense to just go ahead and study fine art. So basically, and I must tell you, even though my dad was really supportive and everything, at some point I had to fight the battle with my mom, because I mean, what you would see generally would be art and science, right? You would see artists. We didn't know a lot of artists that were accomplished, that were around us. So, but you would see on the street, you would see all these art and science guys, and then my mom, in her head, she'd be like, "No, you're not going to do that," blah blah, blah, and everything, right? But eventually, I mean, I had stayed home long enough that I just wanted that, and that was going to be it. So yeah, went into study fine arts in OAU. First, took in my diploma for the basically. So it was a thing of, I was growing up liking stuff that were artistic, just trying out stuff, and I was studied and pushed towards the path, and I just followed the flow like that, basically. Your mic is muted, actually. Wait.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. That's an interesting story. Like, really, that's an interesting story, because a lot of us grow up doing like what kids do: draw, build sand house, and play with counter. Yeah, play with counter. And at the end of the day, we end up doing chemistry, physics, and biology extensively, or an advanced version of chemistry, physics, and biology, and it comes to either frustrated or, well, that's another story for another day. But yes, so the conversation today is around creativity. So when someone sees you, they would say that you are a creative person, majorly because, so, and this is from a very, very generally biased perspective, majorly because you studied fine art, and they'll be like, oh, the reason she studied fine art is because she's creative, so she just followed what she just followed herself into fine art because she's actually creative. So so because she's actually creative, so tilting the focus away from the art, the designers, the techies, and every other thing that we can generally term creative. What exactly can we now define as creativity? So what would you call creativity?
So I really liked what you mentioned, or what you said, that I, in quotes, followed myself, right? I followed myself into what I really wanted to be doing. So I think the first thing is that when we think about creativity, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, these weird guys that always are daring and, just have this weird outlook to life. They just are drawn to those different and unique things. But while that may be partly true, right? It's not the full story, in the sense that we create every day, but we don't think about it as creating. We think about it as living my life, right? We have to come up with ideas about stuff. We get stuck in stuff. We think our way out of things, right? So basically, I say this, and I know that a lot of people would have heard this over and over again, that everybody is creative, but we just don't like, or we don't know that we are being creative when we're doing some things. So sometimes, for instance, so I do not exactly like mathematics, right? So when I'm thinking about, because I'm not exactly a numbers person, right? I try to figure my way around it. So I find ways to make it easier for me to understand some basic things that I need to be doing with maths, right? So, and I imagine that when a regular person, I have a lot of people around me that like to think that they are not creative in that sense. But I see how they come up with solutions for stuff. I see that they are in a bind. The next thing they are thinking, okay, how about I do it like this? You just created something, but we don't tag it as creative because it's weird. It's possibly something that you've read in a book before. It's, so if I wanted to define creativity, I would say first, it's how you follow yourself, in quotes. I really like what you said there, in quotes, following yourself. Then, so I'm specific about that following yourself thing because what you create is from your experience. It's from your so when we're not talking about the visual guys, we're not talking about the guys that are technique guys. We are thinking about, I don't know, maybe the numbers guy, the chemist, the pharmacist, So you come up with ideas, you come up with solutions to problems based on your knowledge bank, based on the things that you've been exposed to and things that you pick up regularly. So the only thing is that the people that are not termed as creative, sometimes they pick up some things unconsciously and they now get to solve their problems from that unconscious side. So basically, and that's why being creative is really being able to think your way out of things, being able to solve basic issues. Okay, so you have a number of clothes that you want to wear, and then you're thinking, okay, you know what, I'm going to see this person, I'm going to see that person. I think that this kind of shirt makes more sense. I think that these shoes are nice. The belt that I have, blah blah blah, and everything like that. Or I think that my earrings are great. This one is awesome. This would give me the kind of impression that I want people to have of me. Those basic things are actually you being creative, but we do not like to. We like to dumb it down and be like, no, I'm not that creative. You guys are the creative ones, right? So yeah, basically, I would just say it's that simple. Create every day. We create per time, per situation, but we do not tag it as creating because just life. Then that's what creating is. Some people just take it a step further by doing some things, right? So yeah, that's how I would define creativity. So it's a bit vague, but simple.
Yeah, creativity is, if I was to summarize everything you said, creativity is a creating activity. So any activity that you engage, that you're actively creating or generating something, finding new ways to do the exact same things that have been done before. But then I have like two questions based on of what you said, or based off. Oh God.
Whatever.
Just and so the first question would be so the reason why people dump whatever they do down, is it because it is not quote and unquote flashy? It doesn't particularly attract much attention. So that's the first question. I don't know if you understand. Like you said, people tend to dump
down their creativity.
Yes. Is it because it's not in quotes flashy? It's not like how it's not like how Albert Einstein did his hairdo, or it's not like how like somebody did a particular this thing. So I think, so is it because of that? Is it because subconsciously in our mind we have set up a comparison meter that, oh, this is creativity. If I'm not doing this, then it's not creativity. Does that apply? That's my first question. Then, okay, I think let's just answer this one before I ask the next question.
Okay, awesome. I mean, sincerely, the answer to that question is really in that question, right? Like I said, it can be so active. You can be so actively aware of creativity, and you can be passively aware of it. Whatever it is, whether you're actively aware or passively aware, it's fine. You're still creating. There's no day that you do not create. There's no, I mean, the basic thing, you create a meal. Or maybe, I mean, like I was telling Tolu Ashe before the meeting started, I was like, I wanted to gas myself up a bit. So I gas myself up a lot. I'm like, making a meal and creating it. I feel like I'm not just wasting my time here. So it's a decision to recognize that you are creating, and the more you do that, the more you see that you're awesome. You're just not the labeled what do you call it now? You're not the labeled tech person or artist that is painting, that is making sculptures and all of that. But you make awesome decisions when it comes to problems that you face. You're able to think your way through and create or make new solutions in code. So yeah, basically I won't say that on the why. I won't just say we've learned to, because we also learn to, what do you call it now? We also learn to see ourselves as creative too. Even for the people that actively create, that are really aware that they are creating stuff, right? I would say a bit of it is from the fact that we've learned to dumb it down. I mean, I'm just picking a pair of shoes after out of 10. I'm not creating anything, but you are creating a cool look. It's like it's basic. You picked the kind of shirt that will match everything that you're wearing. You picked the kind of whatever that would match whatever you're trying to do. You picked the kind of solution that matches the problem, right? You test it out. So all of these things, they're just basically you creating. So I would say practice learning, or not taking responsibility, or not being actively aware that you're creating stuff. That would be part of the why. Or and because we have learned to embrace labels so much, yeah. But then sometimes I think about these things and I'm like, it's not that deep, because some people get paid to be called creatives while some other people do not. So I can understand why some of us will dumb it down, like, I'm not creative. Yeah, so that answers it for me, and I hope that answers it for you and for every other person.
Yeah, it did. But then the follow-up question would be, okay, let me back up a little. So being creative, it's practically creating, actively creating, or creating part-time, and it can be found in the littlest things, in how I switch up the combination when I'm frying eggs to eat and stuff like that.
I mean, it's so basic.
Yeah. So and then to identify myself as a creative, or to recognize myself as someone who is creative, because just like you said, everyone is creative. To identify myself as someone who is creative, I have to in a particular context, be aware that I am always creating. So it takes my mind off what the society has raised as a pedestal for creativity, and it brings the stage to where I am standing. That whatever I do in my own way, in my own form of expression, is creativity. That's what you said, right?
Right. Yes.
So, all right. So, a follow-up question would be, so then, how do I fuel my creativity? Do I just how do I fuel my creativity? That I think that's like that's the question everybody would want to know.
So fueling creativity is so simple and it's so basic that we often miss it, right? So for instance, I like to use an example from the tech side of stuff, right? Just in passing. So I always say this, that when you're trying to learn to do something better, you don't start from the things that are not looking nice. So for instance, you want to be a better designer, you don't start from looking at the shitty kind of design and saying, oh my God, I cannot believe it, what kind of combination, blah, blah, blah. Don't waste your time or your energy. Just convert that into appreciating amazing stuff, right? Focus on the amazing things around you. Focus on the amazing designs that you can see. So back to the question, right? It's easy. So, but the first thing is you have to now become more aware. So say for instance, you weren't always aware that you are creative and all. Be more aware of things around you. So in another way, right, I think about creativity in the sense that I could be bringing an idea from wherever, from cooking to something else. But you cannot bring that idea, you can't transfer idea to solve problems in other things if you are not conscious. So you can't, how do I put it now? You can't create or you can't make out a solution if you are not conscious about things. So you have to become more conscious, more aware. So notice more beautiful things. So let's even say you're a numbers person, but you want to be more creative in the sense of, say, being artistic, or you always had that artistic side of you. For instance, if that's like a thing for you, first you walk into a place, what are the things that you notice first? Notice the beautiful arrangement of things, notice how things are well done, notice things. The word is notice. Pay more attention to things. The more you pay attention to things, the easier it is for you to connect dots. Because in the end, when it comes to creativity, you are really, really connecting dots, right? I remember that. So I like food a lot, right? And on Netflix, I'm sure that I've watched a lot of food shows and everything. And I just watched some things. And from watching it, I'm thinking about something else. I'm connecting it to maybe music, connecting it to whatever. It's because I'm paying attention. So be more in the moment. If you are here right now, be here. What can you notice? So I came on the call. The first thing I noticed, I told Tolu already. I'm like, I love the background. So I'm there with him, but I'm present more, like I'm noticing things. It's very, very important. So whether you are creating artistically or you're not, be more aware, be more open to stuff, see things more, appreciate things more, be present. So for instance, say you go out to, if you're in Lagos, you go out to the beach and all. What do you do when you go to the beach? So I love taking pictures, by the way, and I like recording stuff, but I try to be in that moment a bit more than I'm taking pictures, because in the end, I can record that moment, but in my memory, if there's a disconnection between what's on my phone and what's on my mind, I may not be able to use information at that point. So I go to the beach. I allow the sun hit me in the face, allow the breeze blow me, allow the water touch my feet. Be present. That's the point. So basically be more present, to be more creative in that sense. And it cuts across any situation. So you want to create a solution for, say, where you work, for instance. There's something that is coming up. I really don't know the situation of things in industries that are not the creative industry, so I'm careful to use examples. Okay, I could use example from the number side. So a client is, or there's a mix-up in the number. Say you're auditing a firm or something like that, and then there's a mix-up and that. Sometimes it's beyond what you've learned in school that would save you at that moment. Sometimes you just have to pay more attention to the humans around you in the organization, right? There are probably patterns that you'll be able to pick. Some people that are doing some fishy things, making some moves. I mean, I'm not in those industries, but I can tell you that the more present you are, the better you are at creating solutions. Do you get? So yeah, I think that should answer what you're saying. And I would say this, right, that people on this call can possibly give an example, so that I wouldn't be imagining examples, for instance. So say someone that is not in the creative industry in that sense, just so that I can be getting close to home for you. I don't know if that makes sense, but I still don't know how that works, but I just feel that, so it doesn't look like we are, just giving those.
Yeah, so in view of that, if you English, if you have an illustration that Mary could pick up of, probably you could just write it in the chat box, or probably an industry you are familiar with, and there are some one or two things you can drop to inspire Mary's illustrations. Yeah, that's the one. You can just drop it in the chat window. I'll pick it up from there. Yes. So you mentioned be in the moment, or be present. So my question is on that particular be in the moment. I've had I have a friend who preaches live in the moment, be in the moment, be present, don't worry, and stuff like that. This is kind of tilting to another direction, but I just want to be clear on the be in the moment. Is it we should, quote unquote, live every moment to the fullest, with no regard for what's next, or with no regard for what's behind? You should just live every moment to the fullest. Is that what you are saying? So that if it is, so that we'll know. If it isn't, so that the people on this call would know, and I also would know. Yeah.
So what I'm not saying is forget about the past, forget about this and all of that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, okay, so you're on this call right now, and it may sound as if what I'm saying is so basic, right? I mean, I know these things, blah, 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 and all of that. But you may find out that there's an illustration that helps you understand something better. Or, so the human mind is a funny ground, right? So every time your mind is trying to connect one thing to another. So it's possible that there is an unfinished thought in your mind at a particular point, and just being here in this session complete that your thoughts for you. It may be from what I'm saying, it may be from what you see on the call, it may be from someone's being present too. So being present is not necessarily, just block off every other thing in that sense. It's just, you are here right now. Hope you are not trying to engage on other things, right? Say you are conversing with someone. So there's a thing that I don't even know how it grew on me, but if I'm talking to someone sincerely, like I'm really serious with you, talking with you, I cannot be pressing my phone, because I have learned. So some people can multitask in that sense, but I've seen that I really want to listen to you, so I can't be pressing my phone. If I'm pressing my phone, I would tell you that I'm sorry, I have to quickly do something. I'm trying to listen, I'm trying to follow you. But trust me, whatever I'm typing, I might be typing something from even what you are saying mistakenly. But as some people are able to multitask and pick everything together, I celebrate those people, but I'm not those people, right? I'm somewhere, because my mind is possibly connecting some other things as whoever is talking, I try to be present, because once that moment is gone, that person may never find the same expression ever again. The person may never say those words in succession ever again. The person may never use those words together again. The person may even forget that they said something. I don't know if you've had conversations before and you said, do you know you said this? Like these words. Or say you recorded it and you played it back and you wrote down those words and you said, I heard you say this and this, and the person is like, me, when? But that's how the human mind is. You say some things and then it's just a seed for someone else to think and grow something in their minds. So you're on this call right now. You are here, you are listening to everything, because everything might come together at some point and make sense. Everything should be making sense, right? But beyond that, something might be in this call for you right now that, and I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be spooky. It is just what it is. So it might be an expression from your face. It might be something that just brings something. If you are here right now, you're chatting with someone, trying to do something, trying to do all of that, your attention, let's say your attention is 100%, right? As it should be. You share your attention between several things at that same moment. The moment you break it up, well, you would reap the result of it anyway. So that's why try to not pick too many things at the same time for some time. There are some times where you have to pick those things together and be there. But there are some times where you just really, really have to be present. Say for instance, after this call, I'll be going to like a couple of galleries this afternoon. And my plan is to allow the works really make an impact on my mind. I just want to soak things in. It's not like I'm going to meet a couple of people that I know from way back, chat with them a bit, but I want to see stuff. So at the back of my mind, that's my goal. So part time, there are some times where you are in the moment and you don't have to be 100% in everything at some point, but there are some points where you really have to be 100% or at least 80%, 85% in it. So yeah. That's what I mean by being in the moment, not like cut things off, block it out, never ever, no, not that.
So, like, what you said took me back to a conversation I had with Victor on thinking outside the box. One of the things he said was to one appreciate the advancement of humanity, like what we've achieved so far, and also I think the word he used was being open to the world. That wherever you are, you just you allow yourself fully interact with that place at that time, and that sort of openness. So he even went further to say you necessarily do not need to agree with a particular thing or concept or ideology or culture before you are open to it and you can interact with it. That it basically just helps you. So the way I define it is that you are building an archive or a backlog of data that your brain can piece together when you actually need it. And because most of the time we do not in reality know when we need some particular information we've absorbed over time. Our brain just pieces it together and we're like, oh, I think I can do this way. I think I can do it this way. And that's so I just got that from what you said. So this would be like the final question because I'm looking at the time and I know you have so much to do. This would be like the final question for me before we open up the room for if anybody has questions. My question would be how do we identify the moments where we need to be fully present?
Okay, so that's that's a bit difficult in a way, but then I feel like for everybody, the point. I mean, we operate in patterns. Everybody operates in patterns, right? So you get to understand that there are some moments that you just have to be present in it. So I could use myself as an example, for instance. So sometimes my mind is just on clockwork, say I'm trying to feed my son and I need to be thinking about something else. But in a split second, I could just switch and just start noticing some basic things like, oh my God, look at this boy is growing so fast. Oh my God, this smile. Something is happening inside his mouth. I'm seeing a new tooth. So, and I can snap out of it. Maybe because of some things that I have to do. But there are some moments for me that I cannot afford to not be present in that sense. I know those moments because, or I know some moments, and some of the moments I just allow it to happen to me. So, you can't pin creativity down in a sense, and you can pin it down. So this is what I mean. Your patterns, your life has some patterns already. There are some moments that you just know that this is how I'm going to make some things work. So again, there's a part of creativity that while it may also open, it's almost in a box of your patterns. So for instance, say you are a writer, you have to, as a writer, you have the way that you write. You have how you put constraints on stuff. You can control some things. You can say, this is the time that I have to be fully present because I want to get something done, right? And you can be in a moment in a restaurant just having fun, and the next thing it just comes to your mind that this is the right, a phrase just comes to your mind and you put it down immediately. So moments are fleeting. Being in the moment, being able to select that moment that you have to be in, there are some that you have to have constraints. This one I have to do it at this particular time per day, or this one I have to do it per week. This is how I'm going to operate on this level, and I'm going to keep it steady that way. Then there are those ones that just come out of the blues. So for those ones that come out of the blues, it takes you being at least open enough to be able to recognize it, because those moments will not come in, it won't come announcing itself as if it's something big. It can even come as a stupid thought. You can just be like, why do people brush in this certain way? Why don't we do things like this? Why don't we? And then it brings up an idea that connects with something, connects with something. But if you are not open enough to embrace moments, you will lose it because you just laugh it out, you laugh it off, or just ignore it. So I remember there was a time some years ago I was watching a TEDx video where there was a particular guy that was saying, so inspiration or genius is like a spirit that floats over you and all of that. And then there are times when it's very uncomfortable for you. And then say you are in the bathroom or you are driving. For instance, he used himself as an example that say sometimes he's driving, an idea just pops in his head, and the next thing is like telling, in quotes, the genius hovering over his head, don't kill me, I'm driving. Can you chill and wait? Let me settle down and all of that. So that's the side of the constraints, right? Have constraints on your, in quote, creativity, or on your being present and being able to call out ideas. You can say between the hours of this and this per day, or for this task, I'm going to figure something out. I'm going to read, research, and connect dots, and this is it. Like, we are not going anywhere. We die here. You lock yourself in the room, throw your phone somewhere, and you're like, we trash this thing today. You can decide to be present in some moments. You can call your moments out, and you can allow some moments to come to just happen to you. But you have to you have to be very open to allow. You can't rely, how do I say it now? You can't be human and rely on those fleeting ones, because it's not sustainable. So the fleeting moments that you pass it is quite important. Then the ones that you put constraints on, quite important also. So I hope that answered some of your questions.
Yeah, it did. It just so the last sentence you made reminded me of Mastery by Robert Greene. He mentioned something quite similar to what you just said. So, but I'm not going to say it because we are basically out of time. But one other thing I got from what you said is sometimes we need to just sit down and allow our minds to. So this is how I understood what you said. We should just sit down and allow our minds to roam. So give it that liberty to roam. And at this moment, we might not even need to be on the internet to be looking for inspiration. All we just need might just be to sit down, play our favorite music at a very low volume, please, and just allow our minds to.
Some people actually like that loud. For some people, actually. So your pattern basically.
Yeah. So understanding how your mind works also, so you'll be able to call out, just like you said, call out the times you need to be productive and be like, oh, mind, it's time, come. and let's get creative and stuff like that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. So yes. So uh, do we have questions before we close out on today's conversation? Anybody? Questions? You can unmute yourself to ask your question, and you can also drop it in the chat window, and I'll take your questions. So, question.
Okay. I lost you for a few seconds, actually. Hi.
I'm going to start calling names now.
Hi, I'm back. I lost you for a few seconds.
Oh. I said I was opening the floor for questions. I was asking if anybody had questions. So if you didn't hear me then, you can probably hear me now. So
Yes, I do.
does anybody have questions for Mary?
People on this call, and I know that some people are not necessarily. I know a numbers person on this call, basically. So you might have questions on creativity. How can you make sense of it? Whatever. Or you might have a comment. Basically, it doesn't necessarily have to be a question in that sense. You might have something that you want to talk about. Yeah. And we actually have 8 minutes left, guys. So it's not now that you have 1 minute left and then someone will be like, yeah, so I have this very deep thought and I think it's going to take 15 minutes to. It's going. I'm just going to be out of the call.
The way we might only even be able to take one question. So let me ask. In Kim, I think I like his name. Oh, Kim. I don't know. Is that a numbers person?
Kim is an artist. He's not a numbers person.
I just like his name.
He's a painter.
Wow, nice.
Like a mixed media painter, you know. So just guys, Kim used to be my classmate. And we painted together. It was my co-painter. It was just beside me when I was in school.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah. He paints mixed media, so waste, like biscuit nylons, and he uses it to make amazing art. Like amazing art. I saw your last painting, by the way, in Kim. That's your charcoal drawing and everything.
Sorry guys. No, I'm actually out. Like I've been busy all day, so I'm sorry I even came late. I feel so sad that I came very late. I'm actually out, so I can't switch to video. It's quite noisy out here. I'm trying to see. I don't think I can even meet up to the time of the 6 minutes. I was hoping I could just rush home so I can put back to video. But yeah, thanks for liking my name. Thank you very much. Yeah, Mary, yeah, doing great. Yeah, I was Mary's side in the studio. It was an awesome experience though. So yeah, I don't have any question actually. Maybe because I came probably late. I think I would have had so much to ask or talk about. But yeah, I just had to just come on here.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Peter in his hand, so we can take Peter, then closer to the conversation.
Hello, hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's kind of noisy here, but I just have a question to ask. Now, in a situation where you actually feel that you have started mounting up with creativity, like you started doing some things that are creative, and in a stage where you started probably you want to do another project and you plan of working on some things on new stuff, but there is a place where you still have a fear that will I be able to come out with output that will be much more better than the one that I've been doing before, like will I be much more creative than before, or will I be able to come out with something that is very great? So in situations like this, and the fear keep on coming every now and then, at every point in time that you try to do one project or the other, what do you advise that such a creative guy can do to actually conquer things like this, so that he can actually have a belief and trust in himself that he's much more creative when it comes to coming up with ideas and coming up with great things? That's my question.
Okay. Let me just go straight into it. Um, First thing, I mean, you'll be shocked by the number of people that actually face this fear per project. You'll be shocked that I do also. I don't see it as fear anymore. About it as uncertainty. So when you're starting, say you've just concluded a project and you did amazing on it, then something else comes up and the context is different. You have to profile a new solution to something that you do not know half of what it is about. I mean, the client is just still talking you through, you're still asking questions, you are, in quotes, the dumb one before you become the creative one, right? So you embrace it. It means that you are doing something right. Yeah. So how do I put it now? Uncertainty is like your friend. It's you embrace it. You can't know everything that is about to happen to you, right? Like you can't know every single thing that is going to happen to you in the next moment. That's the first thing. But you don't feel scared about that, right? So a project is coming in. You even have data. You have the things that you're going to work with. You have everything that will come together. So how about this? How about think about that project first, in the sense of, or in the light of its completion first. Remind yourself, you're never going to come to a point where you don't provide a solution to to the problem anyway, right? You're going to find out what exactly the problem is and you're going to provide the solution. So start from there. You've done this before. You know what? The mind is such a tricky ground again. So just because of the uncertainty that you're presented with, especially in the data, all of that, the first thing that happens to you is like, oh my God, I do not know anything about this thing. But it's that same mind that you've used to solve so many problems already. So how about you start from, we've done something like this before. We've been here before. So you've not been here in the sense of this project is like every other project. You've been here because you've always had problems that you've had to solve anyway, right? So you embrace it. So there was a book that I read that was saying that the obstacle is the way, or the place that you have the most fear in that sense is like the way. So you embrace that thing first. You're like, I will deal with you. So how can you gain that confidence? The first thing is your confidence is in the fact that you know your stuff. And if you don't know your stuff, you learn how to know your stuff. Take courses, do whatever. You need your confidence. You need that creative confidence. You need to always be able to say that this thing is new, but I'm going to fix it. I mean, stuff happens to you anyway and you fix it, right? So a new project is here. How do I stop myself from having this fear every time? Look into the project and be like, we're going to get to your end anyway. And I may not know what the end looks like. And it's funny, especially depending on the project, right? There are some that it just looks as if everything is scattered. max of what can happen, guess what, is that the project will fail, right? So the project can either fail or succeed. Sometimes you are the cause of the failure of the project, but who promised you that you won't fail in that sense? Don't bother yourself about the failure or the success for starters. Start first. Look at the data that you've been presented with. From the get-go, you can almost tell where you're going to, but you have to embrace the fact that you can do this. This is, unless you don't have the skill set to solve that problem. But if this is something that you have the skill to solve, I mean, it's okay. So beyond say the creative keyboard typing industry in that sense, so there's an application of information from something else that I'm going to add as an example. So there was a time that I was having stage fright, and it was a major issue for me, right? It was really crazy. And then someone just gave a suggestion. The person was my music director then, very, very respected person, right? And he said, every artist faces this slight discomfort when they're about to start. But he has this solution, which is that every time and it's right there, the moment he opens his mouth, he knows it's over. So he's just itching to open his mouth to sing, and that is the end of it. So embrace it. It's not a big deal for you to be scared. It's only a big deal if you let that being scared beat you down, and then you don't touch the project, and then you mess it up. So let that being scared make you embrace the project more. And you would find out that there's so many interesting things about it that you could have been too scared of. Do you get? If you did not explore some things. So you have to stay open, embrace the uncertainty as your path. Basically.
I hope that, Peter, I hope that answers the question. Yeah, I guess it did. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mary. It's been a very, very big privilege to have you on Random Conversation. I'm excited.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is the end of today's conversation. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mary.
Pleasure.
All right. Bye.
So bye, guys. I think if any other person has questions or something, you could share with Toluwashe directly or with me directly. So let me see if I can add my what do you call it now? IG handle. Actually lead you directly to me.
All right.
So yeah, it was good to be here. Have a lovely rest of the weekend. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Mary.
Bye, Oluwabumi. Bye, Oluwabumi.
Yay! Yes, going
Yeah, I did.